Funnel chart is a new type of chart introduced in Excel 2016 which help you look at the different levels involved in a particular process. There are multiple levels that are involved in a process usually, and funnel charts help you look at them and at the same time also identify if there are any leakages in your process. It's better if you look at one and understand it instead of me explaining it to you theoretically. So let's see how we can make one in Excel and then how we can analyze one in Excel as well. The data that we have here is of a marketing company to my left hand side. We have different levels. So imagine the marketing company did some kind of advertising and got 110 prospects. Out of these prospects, only 60 were able to be contacted. Out of these 60 people, 50 people agreed for an initial visit to discuss a plan or some offer that they were providing. Out of these 50 people, 30 of them were interested, 20 of them told no, that we are not interested. And out of these 30 people who were interested, who were the opportunity, only 8 people got converted into our clients. So these were the potential clients, these were the actual clients. Based on the small data, I created a funnel chart to understand the flow or the process of our marketing and see where we lost most of our leads or most of our prospects. We started off with 110. So a funnel chart, the first bar that we have in the funnel chart will be always the highest value. In this case, it is 110. Then we move on to the second level from prospect to contact and it becomes 60. Then we move on to initial visit, opportunity, and finally client. I can see that most of our clients or most of our prospects were lost between this phase, between prospect and contact. And the least were between this phase. So if we lost a lot of people here, maybe we should improve on that phase. A funnel chart helps me understand where I have to improve. This is really useful when it comes to the flow of a particular thing or a strategy or a process of a certain thing. How do I create a funnel chart? If you click on this chart, you will see that this chart is not taking any data from you. But instead, if I scroll to my right, I have some hidden data here from which it is taking its data and forming this visual. The data is kind of similar to what we have here, but I have built a few extra columns so as to create this funnel chart. Let's see what these extra columns are. We already had the levels. We already had the people column. I have created this two extra column which has lookalike value. So both in the first row has 0, 0, then 25, 25, 30, 30, 40, 40, 51 and 51. How do I get these numbers and why is it important? Let's see that. I'll be going back to my original data. Let's shift this funnel chart here. And let's start creating our data. I'll be copy pasting this data somewhere. So I'll just select my data, Control C, go here and press Control V to not mess with my original data, but just create a replica of that. Then press Escape key to get out of this copy mode. And now modify the data that I have here. I will be requiring two columns, one to the left hand side of my original data, which is this, and one to the right hand side of it. And why is the positioning important? We'll be understanding that when we create our funnel chart. For now, let's just add the column by clicking on this column and using the shortcut Control Shift Plus. We already have a column here, so that is fine. Here, let's call this dummy 1 and let's call this dummy 2. Let's expand this as well a bit. Okay, so here the purpose of creating these extra columns is that for each and every level, I want to have the row total to be exactly 110, which is the maximum value in my data. So how do I decide what I want to have it as my total? You look at your data and find out what is the maximum value, which almost always will be the first value because that's our starting point. After that, we continuously lose people. We cannot gain people after that. So it will most likely be the first value. What I want to do for the rest of the values in this area is to total each and every row with 110. So if I have 60 here, 110 minus 60, which is 50. I need to add 50 to this 60 to make the row total 110. One way to do it is to go to this column, say is equal to, in brackets, 110, which is this cell, minus 60 and bracket closed. I hit enter and I get the value 50. But for a funnel chart, I also have another column. And what I really need to do is divide the 50 amount between the first column and the third column. So I want equal amounts here, which is 50 divided by 2, 25 in each column. For the first column, I can simply edit the formula and say 110 minus 60 divided by 2 and hit enter. I get 25 here. And for this cell, I can say is equal to this cell. You can obviously choose to write the formula again, but to keep things simple, I can simply say is equal to this cell because that will still give me the same answer, which is 25. I hit enter. And now if you see the total of these three cells, this row, it will be 110. We need to do the same for all the rows that we have here. So either I can write the formula again, or I can go to this formula, make a few modifications, make a few things constant, and then simply drag it down. Right now, if I drag it down, I get a few numbers, but these numbers will not total up to 110. For example, in this row, I have 10, 30, and if I again have 10 here, it will equal to 50 and not 110. Why is that happening? Because look at the formula that we have here in the second cell. If I click on this time we are not taking 110 minus 50. Our cell referencing has shifted one cell down. So it is 60 minus 50. That's why we are getting the wrong answer. So we need to go to the first formula and edit it a bit to drag it down. Let's remove this. In this, what do I edit? I want the entire row total to be equal to 110. So I need to do the calculation of 110 minus whatever the amount is in that row's this cell divided by 2. My 110 cell will remain constant throughout the calculation, be it contact, initial visit, opportunity, or even client. So I have to go to H2 and lock it, make it constant. H3 will not be constant because I want to drag it one cell down at a time. So if I am on opportunity, I want to have 110 minus 30. That's why H3 will not be locked. Once I have my formula in place, I hit enter and now drag it down. I do the same here, the one that I did here, which is equal to this cell. I'll be saying is equal to this cell and then dragging it down because I know that the cell referencing will change automatically. For the last cell, it is equal to this cell. Now, just to cross check if we are getting 110 as the total for each row, let's see for the last row. We have 51 plus 8, which is 59, plus 51, which is 110. For opportunity as well, we have 40 plus 30, which is 70, plus 40, which is 110. So each row now is equal to 110. Now, what we need to do to create a funnel chart is to create a bar chart out of all this data. Notice what I have done in this funnel chart, and you will understand why we have these extra columns. This funnel chart is nothing but a simple stacked bar chart. I'm sorry for that. It's a stacked bar chart. In a stacked bar chart, we have the middle bars colored and the first and the third bar not colored. That is no fill. So here we have the orange bar, which is showing the first value of 110. But when it comes to contact, we have 25, 60, and 25. We can already see 60 here. But what you cannot see and what I have hidden from your eyesight is the empty value of 25 here and 25 here. So if I click on contact here, just to show you all how it works, let's go to client visit. Yeah. So now it's visible. You can see that I have empty white rectangles here. Same with this case and same with this case. These white rectangles are formed because of the first column that we have here, which gives it this extra space. If we didn't have these white rectangles, our actual funnel, this bar of 60, would be starting from the beginning, which is something that we don't want, because then it would not look like a funnel. I have done the same at the right hand side as well. So if I click on this side, I can see these empty right rectangles as well. So we have hidden all these rectangles to give it a feeling of a funnel. Here we have this empty space, here we have this empty space, which makes the actual values come in the middle. And why have I kept it as 110 as the total? Because I want equal distancing on both the sides in comparison to 110. Let's see this practically by creating another stacked bar chart. I'll be selecting my data, going to insert, and then going to the bar chart, which is the first one. Click on it and select this one, the stacked bar chart. You click on it and you get a bar chart here. We need to make a few modifications here. One modification is to make this blue rectangle and these gray rectangles white or of no color. To do that, you simply right click, format the data series, where you will get the fill icon, which is this icon. Click on it, and under fill, make it have no fill. Under border, make it have no line. So it does not have any border or fill, and it will be just an empty space here. If you see, it's just an empty space. Let's remove the border. Done. And it's not there. Similarly, for the gray rectangles, click on it, no fill and no border. And they are invisible to us now. Another modification that we need to do here is to invert our bar. As you can see, prospect starts at the bottom and client is at the top. This is an inverted funnel. We need to make it proper by inverting it. We have already learned how to invert it. Let's do that again. We need to invert our y-axis to bring prospect to the top and client at the bottom. So we know that we need to somehow format what? Our y-axis. So I will be right clicking on my y-axis and going to format axis. It brings up this settings box here. And in this box, we have this tick mark called categories in reverse order, which simply inverts our y-axis. If I put a tick mark here, prospect goes to the top and client goes to the bottom. Then what we need to do is remove our x-axis, because as you can see, we will be having our numbers written inside the rectangles and not having the x-axis. Before removing the x-axis, you might have noticed that our x-axis goes on till 120, but our actual number is only limited to 110. So we need to change the bound of our x-axis to 110 by right-clicking on our x-axis, format axis, under bounds, which is the floor or the ceiling of any axis. I go to maximum and change 120 to 110. Hit enter, and now it is changed to 110. I can also change the minimum bound. I want it to start from 0 and not -10. So I will make it 0 and hit enter. Now our x-axis is proper. It's time to delete it now. Our data is formatted according to it. Let's click on the x-axis and press delete, and it will go away. Next, we need to add these actual numbers here of 110, 160, and so on. For that, I can either select the chart, go to design and add chart element, and go to data labels to add a data label. But as you can see, that will add a data label for the empty or the white rectangles as well. We do not want data labels for them. So what we can do is, instead of selecting the entire chart to add a data label, we can simply click on the rectangle that we have here to select it. And now if we go and add a data label, it will only add the data label for the selection that I have made and not for all the bars that I have in my chart. So instead of selecting the entire chart, only select the bar that you want the data label of. Once I have this selected, I go to add chart element, data label, and make it center, so as to get it in the center of my bar. You will notice that we only have data labels for our selection and not for the empty rectangles. Once we have this, we can expand it a bit, give it a chart title. Let's call it a funnel chart. That's what we are making here. And as a final touch, we can also increase the height of our bars. To increase the height of our bars to make it a bit more thick, you have to right click and format it. Remember, the solution to each and every problem of anything in your chart is in the format setting. So if you want to change the height of these bars, you have to simply click on it and right click to go to format data series. Click on it, and here you will get the option of gap width series overlap. In gap width, if you decrease the gap width, you will increase the height of the bar. In other words, if you decrease the gap width, the space between the two bars, that is this empty space here, will keep on decreasing and your bar height will keep on increasing. Once done, you can close these settings. Maybe even change the font color to white to make it stand out. So you can select it, go to the home tab and make it white color. Maybe even make it bold and change the font size to make it a bit bigger. That's how you create a funnel chart. And as a final last step, if you want to remove the grid lines, you can do that as well by clicking on it and pressing delete. You can click on these rectangles. As we have noticed, I haven't removed the border for this. I can see a faint border here. To correct it, simply click on it, right click, format data series, fill icon, and remove the border from solid line to no line, and it will go away. You can remove the legend as well to hide the dummy data columns so that the end user is not able to understand how we have created this funnel chart. Let's click on this and delete it. Then you can close these settings and your funnel chart is ready. Now, if you are using Excel 2019 or Office 365 versions, you will have an inbuilt Excel funnel chart if you go to Insert and go to the space somewhere around here. For versions lower than that, that is, most of the people are using Excel 2016 or 2013, you will not be having the funnel chart as a default setting. So this is how you can create a funnel chart from scratch. That's it for this lecture, and I'll see you in the next one.